The next question revolves around guns, Second Amendments. There have been ongoing horrific use of firearms against school children and the general public. What can be done legislatively to reduce such occurrences? And further, can the candidates please provide a direct answer on their position regarding civilian ownership of assault-style guns and or the use of bump stocks, the modification used in the Las Vegas assault? George.
So we have got a major issue with gun violence, and we need to wrap our arms around it and do something about it and stop kicking this can down the road. We are having too many vulnerable populations, particularly school children, but also churches and other gatherings that are being impacted by violence. And on top of that, the single largest source of gun death is suicide by men in their homes. So I think we need to do several steps, some of them at the legislative level. First, we need to fund the Centers for Disease Control to do a study of what is the cause for this epidemic that we've got of gun violence. Second, we need to move forward with universal background checks. These are supported by upwards of 85% of Americans. It's simply a way of identifying that someone that receives a weapon is someone that doesn't have a history of violence or doesn't have a serious mental health issue or isn't on the watch list. Those are things that we should do, universal background checks. Above and beyond that, I think there are ways to reduce the lethality of these weapons, and I do support banning bump stocks, which convert semi-automatics to automatics, as well as to reducing or even potentially eliminating high-capacity magazines. As it goes for weapons that are meant for the battlefield, I think that we need to take a serious look at that and understand why someone needs those. I certainly don't want those near my church, near my school where my children are at. And at the end of the day, we do need to protect our schools, but I'm not in favor of arming teachers. We already asked our teachers to do more than enough.
Every single one of us, especially those who are parents, but every single one of us knows children or has children. And not one of us wants to send our kids to school and know or think or imagine that they won't come home safely to us. That is the horror that some of our families in the United States have lived with, and I think that, like me, every single parent in the room thinks about that on a regular basis. The answers are difficult to find because we have a Constitution which each of us takes an oath to uphold and defend, which enshrines, as well as other things, the Second Amendment and our right to bear arms. And so where do you find some common ground? Where do you find the safety and keep your rights at the same time? I will tell you, I was privileged to meet with many of our superintendents who gave me, quite honestly, a different story than I thought I was going to hear. I thought I was going to hear one thing, and quite honestly, they said, one of them said, or two of them said, we need more counselors. We need funding for counselors because kids will talk to a counselor, not a guidance counselor, but another type of counselor specifically for this because they don't want to rat out. They don't want to dime out their friends, right? So the other one said, another one said, we need money for hardening our facilities because they're old and people are just able to walk in and out, and we can't afford to harden the facility. Others said we need money for resource officers. The answers, generally speaking, are locally among each school and each school district and what they want and what they feel will best protect them. Now, on the bump stock issue, the president we were moving towards that legislation. The president issued an executive order, so they are now banned, and assault-style weapons is a definition. Anything can be an assault weapon. It depends on how it looks. I would just tell you this. It didn't work the last time it was tried. The assault weapons ban had no discernible effect on the safety of people in the use of guns. So, thank you.